Right, well, I was so busy concentrating on cutting that nice and straight freehand on there, I forgot to stop. Hi guys, this episode I'm going to be showing you how to set out for your roof tied in. So it's going to be setting your batten gauge. So we got to work out our first batten and our last batten and then work out the gauge in between. We've skipped on a bit because I was having loads of time off for the summer holidays with the kids and was conscious the weather was going to change. So I've already done the front elevation, which I'll show you in a minute. It had a few complicated bits, so I wanted to make sure that was right. And when you're filming something and trying to concentrate, it's a bit tricky. So I'll show you where we're at, and then I'll show you what we're about to do today. Okay, so as you can see, I've got the front elevation on. Also didn't film that because the first time I fitted one, it was one of those solar ones that opens automatically. But it turns out it is actually pretty much the same principle as all the normal ones. So don't panic. I'll show you how to do all of this. The other little tricky bits I had to sort out was the detail on the green oak, but it's actually worked really well with the dry verge, can you see? So, and I've managed to do a strain. I think it looks all right, but we were desperate not to lose this nice ovalo detail, so I think it's tied in quite well. And if you come under here, we've gone for the agate grey angled soffit, and then that runs up all the way up to there, and then obviously this is going to get rendered up to finish, so it'll hide those screw holes at the top. I think it worked out pretty good, man. Yeah, this is an angled soffit, which is a bit unusual, but because of the way that hip roof worked out, and we've done the extra long extension, as I've explained in the previous episode, which needed a load of modification, because the plans changed and the equal soffit thing didn't work out, but I've explained where I went wrong on that. So, but it's actually given way to a beautiful feature on the back, in the back garden, which is going to look awesome, I think. So in a way, it was actually a blessing in disguise. Oh, and there's a sneaky peek at our windows that we've supplied. It's not fully fitted. I just was impatient when they turned up yesterday and thought, I want to see what it looks like. So I banged one in dry. They look really nice. So if you go around here, this is going to be our overhang with our green oak supporting posts, and here's the window from the outside. They look bloody marvellous. I'll be doing a, because we do supply only as well, I'll be doing a video how I go about fitting this. And obviously the customer, when I built the extension, we weren't sure whether they wanted normal ones or the sliding sash. So what I've done is I'm creating the stone sill. So I've cut back at an angle. This projects forward so it doesn't foul the drip, because a lot of people just do their rendered sill, sand and cement sill, up to that point. But if you imagine, water could get in there and get trapped under there. So I make sure I've overshot it, and then when that gets rendered in at the back as a little upstand, like you see on sills, the corners will get rendered so it forms that corner trough. And then I'll cast in situ a sill then to project here, which will look bloody marvellous, I think. So yeah, happy with that. So I managed to get all the inner skin gable end blocked up. I don't know if you can see the all important strapping to go hooks over your block work. So that's all in place. I've done the insulation, it's all taped. I've done a cavity tray, if you can see the black cavity tray on there, stops there and there, so that'll get turned up in the perp when I do the outside. But you know what, I thought I'd finished the block work, and then I just keep putting it off because it just annoys me, these little stupid bits. The rain was lashing, and because I'd been soaking my feet, soaking in a puddle for 3 days, I thought, you know what, I'll struggle with that after. I just want to get this felt and batten today. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you how to set out your first tile. I always use a dummy fascia, because when you've got OCD, you just want all your fascia nails to be spaced evenly, so it allows you to nail your fascia wherever you want. So you've just got to continue that on, finish it, put this, the last ladder rafter in yesterday. Just got to plumb cut that in the right place and extend this dummy fascia, and then we can get started. Right, so the first thing you need to get up on the roof is some battens, you know, only short lengths, offcuts, just for setting out purposes, and a few tiles. I've already worked out the kicker. It looks massive, doesn't it? But this is a 16-degree pitch, so that is what it is in order to get the next second row of tiles to sit right. on the first. It becomes obvious once I show you, so don't panic. It'll become self-explanatory. It's important to get that right. So yeah, that sets the kicker in order to get the second row to sit nice on the first row. So I'll show you what I do next. So this is the agate grey to match the windows fascia material I'm using. So the first thing we've got to do is work out the overhang, what we want our tile overhang to be. So we've got to bear in mind that this is going on top. Look at that lovely chair. So if I put that on the red 20, in this case, it is 15 mil. So we got to allow an extra 15 mil on our measurement. And we've got a 110 mil gutter, the deep fill one, because you can actually put the deep fill gutters in level, because these are two massive runs of roof, and if you put, you know, a fall on it, it doesn't look very good. You know, the margins go all wrong, don't they? Because it looks like you've put everything, it just makes everything look wonky when it's not. So I'm hoping to put these in level, or as near to level as possible. So this tile wants to land in the middle of the gutter, so that'll be 55 mil plus our 15 gives us 70 mil, I believe. Yeah, bang on the 70 mil. So that first batten is in the right spot there, so I'm going to mark that and then screw it temporarily to the rafters. Right, so that's our first batten, equally spaced off the front edge of this fascia, or dummy fascia should I say, both ends. I put my towel back on to check, and we've got, I said I wanted 70, wasn't it? Boom, 70, maybe 71, but you know, what's the mil between friends? So the next step, so that's established the top of our first row of battens. Okay, so now what we got to do is establish the top of our top row of battens. And I usually work on a general rule, is that you come 30 mil down from the ridge to allow for your tile lugs, because you want to keep them intact. So yeah, I always come 30 mil down from the top, and that gives just enough room then. So that's our next step, and get that parallel. The best thing to do is to chalk a line really from one end to the other, but because I spent plenty of time getting that right in order to just set out my batten gauge, I don't really need to do that. And the reason I'm doing it here as well, sorry, via Velux, is because there's a set distance from the row of tiles at the bottom of your Velux to the batten that you fix your Velux window onto, which I'll explain later. But another reason what made that one complicated, because you know it was too tight. I thought personally too tight for the opening. It was very difficult to squeeze it in. We could not achieve that. So our bottom row of tiles did actually have to be notched, which is a bit annoying because there's no way around it, because we just literally didn't have the tolerance to achieve the measurement we desired. So that's why I'm doing it here, so I can make sure that our batten gauge finishes nice in order to do all the windows. So yeah, I'll go and mark that out now, and then show you the next step. I've marked my battens 30 mil from the end, and then from the ridge, sorry, and then screwed that batten on. So now just going to check from there to the top of that batten down there is the same as there to the top of that batten. Make sure everything's parallel, and then we'll move on to the next step. So now you want to make a note of this measurement, which is 4057. I make that. So that is the measurement from top of batten at the top to top of batten of the last row of tiles at the bottom of the roof. So that then is, we'll write that down now, and that's what we need to calculate our batten gauge. Okay, so the first thing you do need to do to work out your batten gauge is to go onto the manufacturer's website, or some places that sell the tiles also have the spec on them. Go find the spec of the tile that you're using. In our case, it is a Redland Regent. So I'll show you what I've come up with now from Googling that. So our roof pitch we know is 16 degrees. So on the spec it said the maximum, this is the batten gauge now, don't get it confused for head lap, which is how much the tiles overlap. This is batten gauge. So our maximum batten gauge below 17.5 degrees, which is what we want, isn't it, is 318 mil. And the minimum is 293. So what I do is I sort of pick a figure in between there, and I went for 300 because it's sort of somewhere in the middle. And I've taken 4057, which was our top of batten to top of batten measurement, and I divided it by 300, and that came out at 13.5, I believe. So at that point, you can either round down or round up to see what you get. So then I went for 13 first. So I divided 4057 by 13, and that gives you 312 mil, which is the accurate measurement. So with that measurement there, to check it works, you go and see if it lands in between your maximum and your minimum. So 312, so that's 6 mil off the maximum, which is fine, and then it's 9 mil off the minimum gauge, so we're absolutely fine there. And I mean, I got a feeling if you rounded it up to 14, I don't think that would work, so that works bob on there. So I know I got 13 rows of battens at 312. So that is my batten gauge, 312 mil, and that is from the top of your batten to top of batten. Yeah, so that's pretty much how you work out your batten gauge. And if you want to double check, what I'm going to do now, just because, well, I can show you guys, can't I? And it also, to work out your kicker, I'll set a batten, one little offcut of batten, 312 mil from top of there to top of there and top of there to top of there, and see if she seats nice. Because what will happen, if you haven't kicked this up enough, it will drop, and you'll see gaps up under the next row of tiles. So you've got to do it so it seats lovely. So I'll show you that process now. I screwed my batten, so it's, what did I say? 312 from top to top, 312 from top to top. And if you look now, nice seated lovely on that tile. And other way to check is go sideways and check if that's parallel there, the gap between that and that. If that's parallel as well, then you're winning. So I'm happy with that. So my next step now is, oh yeah, because we're having angled soffits now, which I think is going to look really cool. And the reason why it's angled is obviously because we're having such a massive overhang with the green oak detail here. You obviously couldn't go level, otherwise you'd be halfway down that door opening there, wouldn't you? And yes, I have, we got some beautiful heritage aluminium doors that we supply. I haven't unboxed them yet, but I will do a video on how to fit them as well, because we also do them supply only. I would say you need to be a little bit more experienced though to fit these. I would say box sash windows. If you're methodical, that's fine. Maybe not the heritage windows, because they're not even glazed them. So there's all the, your toe and heeling to do and all that stuff to make sure the doors don't drop. So it's a bit more complicated, but I'll show you anyway when we get to it. And I've lost my trail of thought. Oh yeah, yes, I have checked. This isn't a full width. It's not just two pairs. We've got two side screens. So one side screen there, one side screen there, and a pair of doors in the middle. And yes, the door opens. It doesn't foul. So before all you smart asses get on and start taking the mix and, ooh, you're going to hit the roof. Well, I hope they do. In theory, on paper they don't. So let's just find out. But that's for another episode. So stay tuned for that. So yeah, so... And I've lost what I was saying. So, yeah. So if you can feel here, there's a lip on my dummy thing. This is the line of my kicker where I need to set the top of my rafters to. So I've measured down. I've allowed a bit so it doesn't foul the soffit coming through. So I just need to rip a 16-degree bevel on the bottom of this OSB board. And then I can final fix it back up to the rafters. And I also need to do a little section on the end for our ladder rafter coming down the roof outside the building there. So I won't show that because it's boring, but I'll get back to this point. And then our next step will be to install our eave support tray. You've got to be careful on low pitch roofs with these eave support tray because people mess up and end up with water dripping through their soffit. It's quite easy to do if you don't do it properly. It's fine on steeper pitch, so that side was fine. This side you've got to be a bit careful. I'll show you that now. So when you're setting out your eave support trays, what you want to do is the front edge of, well, this is how I do it. The front edge of your fascia should be in line with that, line there. And then that gives you the correct flow into your gutter. So looking at that, what are we? 5 mil off the edge of that OSB. So if I just mark that with a pencil now and then do the same both ends, I can get the correct position for where the back of my thing. And this is where low pitch roofs go wrong, because if I was to just screw that there, we're actually falling back into the building there, aren't we? So that needs addressing. So I'll show you how to do that now. So this is the position of my eave support tray. I need to pack it up. That's a 25mm batten. So at that point, so now you've got a nice fall. But if you were just to screw that batten on there and screw your support tray to the batten, when your felt comes, it's going to hit a brick wall there, isn't it? So what you need to do is cut yourself, work out. So I need to be 25mm above the rafter line about this point here. So I would cut, that's the position of my first batten. So you don't want the wedge to foul the batten. So I would get my 25mm and taper it to nothing over that distance, if you see what I'm saying. So I got to work that out now and cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. 27 of those bad boys. So in order to do that, I've got to make a jig. I'm calling it the sprocket jig because I think that's what they're called. But that's usually when you've got the sprocket kick at the end, just to make as a design detail. This is just so we get a fall on our felt support tray. Otherwise the water could come in and then roll back into the building and trip through your eaves. So, yeah, so what I've done, I said I needed to achieve over a distance of 120mm, I needed to achieve 25mm to nothing wedge, didn't I, in order to gently slope the felt up to the eave support tray. So I've got a piece of wood, squared across anywhere. I've measured 25mm in. That is 120mm from that point, and I've gone from nothing to 25mm. And it wouldn't hurt to extend it then from this point. So I continued the line through and I've squared across there. So that's what I'm going to cut out now. Right, well, I'm so busy concentrating on cutting that nice and straight freehand on there, I forgot to stop. So in order to get over that, cut that square across there and then screw a bit onto there, run it through the saw and it'll cut it off where it needs to be. What a knob. Just like that. Right, so that's my eave support trays all in. So basically, can you see these, what do I call them, sprockets or whatever they were? What I did was, this is the position of my batten. Okay, so what I did was you can see there's still there. I marked it at that end, strung all the way through to the other end, and then I put in all my sprockets to that line. So now, when this gets covered over with felt now, I know that I've just got to push my first batten up to that, and it's a definite stop there, and that's my position of my first batten. I don't have to go trying to mark the felt or whatnot, because it's difficult to get your measurement once you've covered it all up with this. So there's nothing like super accurate to measure off, so that's why I've done that. So they're the same all the way along, and you can see there's still a fall. So not much of one, but it's a fall. So there's not really a lot else you can do, but there is a fall. So any water gets on there, the felt's not going to sag and it'll just run off then. So now it's time for felting. So when I'm doing my felt now, because I've got all these in the right position, I've got a eaves comb that will get fitted to stop insects going up inside your tiles because they're profiled. I'll fit the eaves comb to that point there, so I got a nice parallel line now. I'll probably just let my felt go to that point there, just behind that line, and work my way up the roof. It's going to be, you watch now, as soon as I get the felt out, the wind will just go mental, because it always does. You knows it. Right, so we're all felt and battened now. I've chucked that in. Don't worry, I'll show you how to do that. I've got another 2 to do with them, but yeah, just a couple of tips on the felt and battening. Obviously, as I cut those sprocket things, yeah, the first batten was easy. If you haven't got that, then you need to reference before you start putting all your eave support trays on where your first batten starts. Otherwise you're getting a mess, because you want to make sure that's parallel. So I know that was, I pushed that first batten down till it touched all those wedge sprocket things I did to lead the felt up, and nailed that one in. And then obviously my bit gauge was my top of batten was 313 mil. So I cut myself a couple of pieces of batten, 313 minus 50, which is the thickness of the batten, and you just sit them in between them. But what I will say is do not just rely on them, because even though these timbers are meant to be regularized at 50 mil, and let me see if I can show you an example. Basically, they're not. They're different sizes. So what I do, because you're working on your own, I chuck one packer at one end of the length of timber, batten, and then another one there, get the batten in place, and then each one I just double check with the tape measure, because, you know, if you creep a couple of mil, you end up in a mess, basically, because you don't know which is your reference. So it's just best to double check with the tape. It don't take long. And yeah, just fire them in. And then also when you're laying your felt, I didn't film it because it's not pretty, is it? One person on their own trying to fight. And you know what happens. As soon as you get the felt out, the wind blows like crazy and you just look mental. So yeah, just make sure, if you're not counter battening, which I'm not, because to be honest, I don't see the point in it. We've been doing roofs like this for years. It's quite a newish thing, I think. I know in Scotland they do it, but that's different because they got crazy weather. So, but yeah, make sure you sag your felt inside. See, I'm not doing anything, but I can get my finger under that. Because obviously, if water comes down the roof and that's pulled tight, it can't pass under the battens. It just soaks into your battens, and that's how they can rot out. Not that any water should get in under your tiles anyway, but it's just good practice, isn't it? So yeah, try and leave a nice sag in between, because then yeah, the water will gather towards the middle and run underneath. Then that's it for the felt and battening, I think. Obviously I've done my miters on the hip there. They're different pitches, so they don't line through with the other roof, but they'll never meet because they're completely different pitches.